Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast, episode 301. I can't believe it's that many already. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for the Reddit. I am your dashing, and gorgeous host, Chris. With me are my mediocre-looking co-hosts and good friends, Case and the Riz. How you guys doing today, guys?
Hanging in. It's been a weird day.
Yeah. What's that hat you're wearing,
Weird
Riz?
week. That is Ohio Bobcats. We got Maction going on right now, baby.
Right.
Akron and Kent State, bitter rivals. They kick off the season. Akron does an onside kick on the opening kickoff of the year. Maction is back. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Good times. Good times. All right. We got a good show for you today. It's going to be a little bit quick because we got such a long show coming up on Friday. We'll talk about that a little bit. But we got Matthew Stafford. That's breaking news, of course. What happened? He may be sick. He may not be. We'll tell you all about what the details are and what to look for. Are the Lions buyers or sellers? We talked about that last week. Things might have changed. We'll talk about that as well. We'll take some of your calls. We'll preview the Vikings game, take you around the division, and a whole lot more. We got a great show lined up. Case, you ready to go, my man?
I am ready to see the Vikings chase Daniels.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple quick announcements first. Check us out. Help us out on the Patreon. Special thanks to the Dylan guy from
Guam.
That's right. Of course, our very first donor, Mathis. Brian B. from I Prevail. I'm going to give another yell out to Floundericious for all his great help on the St. Jude thing we've been working on. All those folks and more, including the Riz, Case, me, Sandman. I got to get that invite to Tony Ortiz. Darn, I'll get him in there too. They'll hang out in the Slack, the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. It's a great place to get your news and have a conversation, get questions answered, whether it's renovating your home all the way through football stuff. It's really, really good stuff. Great conversation.
Beer channel too.
Beer channel. Riz spends a lot of time in the beer channel. If you really want to get questions into Riz, that's where to hit him up at.
I like my beer.
How do you get access to the Slack? As little as $1 a month donations to the Patreon get you in there, and we'll get you access to the Slack. Of course, we'll take more, but you will enjoy that conversation. And it actually comes up in a phone call from a listener today. Give us like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast, and on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. Give us that follow at DET Lions Podcast. It's the best place to see Case.
With no pants on.
Just wait till Friday. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, and of course, youtube.com/DLP Clips. If you ain't got the time, we got the time for you. Little short clips, digestible chunks, not previously digested chunks. It's good stuff for reference and a great way to get a hold of some of the action in a very quick way. youtube.com/DLP Clips. Rate us, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you find us. Hit us up over there. Give us those 5 stars. We appreciate those 5 stars. If you can't find it in your heart to share 5 stars, then head on over to the subreddit and tell us why. We appreciate that. We want to know what we're doing or how we can improve, not what we're doing wrong or what we're doing wrong. Whatever. It's probably Case's fault. Yeah, head on over. Give us the information. We'll work through with you and make sure that you can feel your way to 5 stars in the future. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. Or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. Leave a message and get a chance to hear yourself on the show.
Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review This Week in Reddit.
Right, it's time to talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And the first thing that I think is on top of everyone's mind, everybody wants to talk about, is the Colts game. Who doesn't feel that? You guys got that? You got that Colts blood running? I mean, woo! Look at that.
It was nice to lose in a non-stressful manner for once. I don't know how to better put that. Like I knew,
that is
by the end of the third quarter, I didn't have to I didn't have to let my, blood pressure kill me for the next hour.
You knew that one was done. So as you guys know, I have to watch 2 games at the same time on Sundays. After about the midway point of the third quarter, I turned the Lions game off. Well, it was still on, but I wasn't watching it. I focused exclusively on the Browns, their own humiliating loss. And I didn't miss anything in the Lions game. I got caught up on on watching the broadcast feed and then the All-22 the next day. Or actually, I spent my election day watching the All-22, and that was a frustrating way to spend a frustrating day.
Could have been watching the election and been even more frustrated. So, I mean,
it was just like my number one takeaway, aside from the fact that there was a lot of things that the Lions did wrong. The Colts are good, and they are good in a way that the Lions cannot handle.
Yeah.
They're very physical on both lines of scrimmage,
Yep.
and they're smart. And smart physical teams are going to give the Lions fits, and the Colts did it.
Which worries me about our upcoming game for that exact same reason.
It worries me about every upcoming game, because even the bad teams that are left on the Lions schedule, they at least are like, they're going to punch you in the mouth.
I think we actually match up relatively well with the Packers, but not so much with the Vikings if the Vikings continue to play the way they played this last week. But
yeah.
I think, and we talked about that in the post game. The Lions were just destroyed in the trenches. We were beaten by a team who built their team. They didn't build it in the quarterback. They didn't build it in the secondary. They're a team that is built and very, very strong in the trenches. And they just manhandled the Lions up front. That's what got the pressure on Stafford. That's what got kept the defense at bay. Allowed Phillip Rivers, who's he's a how does Rivers say it? He's the corpse of Phillip Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
To go out there and perform as well as he did. So it's a testament to a little bit of that old school how you build your team for football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just a tough matchup, and you got to give the Colts credit. Getting DeForest Buckner was a brilliant move for them.
Yeah,
he made Ragnow look bad, and we know that Frank Ragnow is a really good center. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. He got his ass kicked.
Yeah,
no way around it.
Oh, definitely.
And he was better than the guards. That's the story. The game. Adrian Peterson got 7 yards on his first carry. After that, the Lions did not gain a yard on the ground.
Yeah. What did Swift end up with? He had a team high 6 carries, but
he had 1 yard on 6 carries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why? Just so you know, it's because he spent his time on the sideline instead of prepping. Signing a ball for our St. Jude charity auction.
Sure. Well, it's our fault then.
Curse
those
him.
Damn kids.
I'll lower my bid $5.
If it weren't for us meddling podcast, he'd have gotten away with the ball too.
No, I mean, there's not a lot to say about the Colts game. It was a bad matchup. They did not execute well. Stafford was not his sharpest, and got progressively worse from what I saw of it. That was frustrating. That was definitely frustrating. And if you want to go off on Stafford, he's got to play better if they have any chance to win. And he did not in that game. And that's going to make a lot of people very happy, oddly enough, the people who want him to fail. I'm not one of them, but I understand that those people litter my Twitter timeline all the time.
The Kellen Moore fans.
And I would wish that I wish they had less fodder, because I can't argue back with him this week, because he was not good. Now his receivers, my God, Marvin Jones is done. Even his touchdown catches, plural, he had a guy with both hands on him both times.
Yeah.
Stafford Kenny Galladay too. So freaking perfect.
Kenny Galladay.
That was the worst game I've seen Galladay play.
Yep. Yeah,
zero catches on 4 targets. 2 of them hit at least one hand. He was not open at all, and that was before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And by the way, he also did not try to block in the run game. No. For a guy who's trying to earn a big contract, you might want to try.
Yep.
I've been worried about this potential diva turn for him for a while now. I talked about it last year, and I thought maybe I was just reading the tea leaves and getting a little high on my own supply or whatever. But I think I am concerned about him from an attitude standpoint going forward. And to the Stafford point, I thought Stafford was playing well for the first half. He did throw the ugliest pick maybe that I've ever seen him throw. That was maybe the worst throw that I have ever seen him let loose. And that's not to say we haven't seen a few stinkers over the years, but it was a bad one. It was a really bad one. Well, like I said, though, I mean, I think he was playing pretty well in the first half, but you consistently put your quarterback in 3rd and long that they were doing on almost every set of downs. you put them in a tough spot and you force them into making sometimes questionable decisions.
Yeah. And I mean, for the Stafford haters, if you really wanted something to feed your frenzy, boy, Carlos came out with something pretty quick, just tearing. I mean, I think the headline was, "It's Matthew Stafford's fault that the Lions lost," or something. I mean, that's effectively what it was. Did you see that, Riz? I mean, that was Carlos.
I tried to ignore it.
Those ready, man. He's just got a pocket full of bad articles.
That's just embarrassing. That is rag journalism. It needs to go away. Yeah. I hate that.
Careful. We're going to get in trouble if we talk bad about quote unquote other journalists.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, the Slack bot will hit me too. I don't want that. I'll just say this: that there's a business model out there that I wish was not so successful, of courting that sort of the fans who will buy into.
Yeah,
that.
Of course. Yeah.
They are not my audience. I don't want them in my audience. I understand that there's a need for them, but I resent that as somebody who tries to go about it a different way.
It seems like a bad business model to charge people money to make them mad. I don't know. It just feels like that's not going to be sustainable over the long haul.
Dude, it works though. It really works.
I think we'll find.
It's like
that
the old
worked.
Howard Stern thing. Like, people who liked Howard Stern listened for like 30 minutes, and people who hated him listened for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's been happening to me lately with what's his name on the morning on Fox Sports, before Dan Patrick. I can't think of his name.
I don't know.
Clay?
We don't have an affiliate here.
Is it Clay?
I don't know.
Clay Travis?
Yeah, I can't stand him. I absolutely can't stand him. But sometimes I find myself just.
But see, that's the difference.
Having a real hard time changing the channel.
You're paying money for that. You're not paying monay for that, right? You're spending time. Yeah. You got to spend money to read Carlos's stuff, and like you get an article or two or whatever. But it's pay for it. There's a reason The Athletic works. Right? they actually have honest, good, solid journalism going that they charge money for. It's quality product. You know what I mean? I just think people aren't going to dive into the clickbait world when you have to pay for it. I think they're going to do one or two, maybe a month, maybe two, and then they're just going to be saying, you know what, this isn't better for me. This isn't a good use of my time or my money. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. All right, let's see.
Our chat's a little quieter than usual today.
Yeah. People are not feeling good. Hey, Aaron, how you doing there, brother?
Everybody's
people are
high anxiety.
People are wary to be
online.
Yeah.
No, I can't blame anyone. I haven't slept well for the last couple nights, so
I'm sleeping like a baby. All that stuff happens. All that stuff that's happening, it ain't happening to you. You're okay. You'll be fine. We'll all be fine. We've been fine for years. We'll be fine for more. All right. Hey, I'm going to take a call quick. This is a little bit long. I want everybody to kind of listen to this. It was an interesting take. I haven't heard it directly. I've only read it because it had a transcription. But it's I'm a Ghost Ooh, and from the subreddit. He usually has a pretty good take. Let's bring him in here.
Yeah.
Hey, DLP crew. I'm a Ghost Ooh here from the subreddit, and mainly now from the Slack chat these days. So thank you for putting that together, Chris. I've really enjoyed it in there lately. I just got done listening to the post-game pod, and then yesterday I rewatched the game a good amount, and after looking at beat writers' takes on the game, after, looking at people in the Slack and the subreddits, and after hearing you guys' takes, I think that I honestly, after my rewatch anyway, I really feel like I have a much more optimistic take on how that all went down, and what, and that we can play, the rest of the teams going forward at the very least competitively, but also we probably can, snag at least 2 or 3 of these next ones that we need to snag, even with Flowers and Kenny probably going to be out for most of those games. So it's probably going to be a two-parter, this voicemail, because there's just a lot to talk about, I'd say. But I think the main point of it all is that we played like 90 to 95% of those, I'd say 90% of those plays of that game were neck and neck with the Colts. Like, we were hitting them, they were hitting us. They might have gotten a little bit better of us on a few more than we did of them, but like it was really close. It was not a rout like so many people were trying to make it out to be. Even though the score at the end looked like a rout, It was not. It was like the opposite of the Saints game, where the Saints game we only ended up losing by a touchdown, but we got scored. We had 5 touchdowns consecutively scored on us all game, and no one would deny that we got routed that game. In the Packers game, we got routed, I would say, but not this game. I don't think. I think, the final score, yes, it looked like we got routed, but I think that the plays that we had a front seven that was actually playing really well. I thought their pass rush was surprisingly good against that Colts O-line. The run defense was surprisingly good against that Colts O-line. They only allowed like 60 yards through the first 3 quarters, which is pretty solid, I think, and against that O-line. And then they allowed 60 more in the fourth, but, we'll get to that probably in the second part of this if you guys will be gracious enough to play it for the pod. But, yeah, I think that the secondary was trash, and that's a big part of what, led to our defense's demise Sunday. But our front seven was really carrying them, I thought, really well for most of the game. And I think our offense was doing surprisingly well considering we had 0 run game and we were out without Galladay. Stafford still was keeping us going, and even in the face of all of that pressure, he was carrying us really well, I thought, except for that one play where he threw that pick 6 and I'll get back to that in the second part of this message, but like.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
I love the self-awareness. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Hold on. Let me get the second one here.
All right, part 2. I do want to start out like part 2 here as well by just kind of going over real quick that our offense and the Colts offense, they were basically the exact same in terms of production Sunday. We had 380 some yards of offense. They had total offense. They had 380 some yards of total offense. They were 7 of 14 on third down conversions. We were 7 of 14 on third down conversions. They were bailed out on third down conversions. They had 2 first downs from penalties. We had only 1. But their 2 that they got were both pretty huge. There was the erased sack that was one of the 3 big moments I'd say that really hurt us in that game and made the difference in the end. We had stopped them on third down. They deserved to punt the ball. The Colts offense at that point deserved to punt the ball because they had 3 chances and they failed, and we sacked them on the last one, and then they were bailed out by a bullshit call.
Kids.
It was a soft call. It might have been technically the right call, but it was very soft. People get away with taking the quarterback down rather late all the time, and it wasn't even like they landed on him or anything. It was very, very soft. And then, of course, what followed it was even worse, which is Rivers was punching. It was like pushing and punching a Lions player. I think it was Okwara. And the ref had to literally pull Rivers off of the Lions player. It wasn't that they had to save Rivers from the Lions. It was they had to pull Rivers off a Lions player, but then he hadn't even thrown the flag yet. He proceeds to throw the flag after ripping their quarterback off of our player who was trying to beat the shit out of him. He called the flag against the Lions for unnecessary roughness. And I'm just laughing at how bullshit that is. That should have at least been negating penalties.
I think it was Sheldon.
But no, the Colts, got to beat up on our guys at the end of that play and no repercussions, then they get to score. Another, instance where they got bailed out again was the Coleman PI call. Again, Coleman probably deserved it, but I don't think PI should be spot fouled like that. And so I think that they got 40 free yards that, since the second quarter, they had not sniffed the red zone. And then it was the beginning of the fourth quarter and they get the, PI call and they scored the touchdown shortly after. And then it's only a 2-score game, full fourth quarter left, and then Stafford throws his pick, and that's going to hurt you big time, and it's going to crush you because that's 3 touchdowns you have to come back now, and the guy who's supposed to be leading that comeback just threw a disgustingly bad pick. It was so bad. It was rookie-level bullshit. So I just think the defense played really well. The front 7 did, and I think we can build off of that, I hope, going forward. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week. That's the line.
I like this.
Just have him call in every week. We don't have to do anything. I
was thinking the exact same thing.
He used to call into the radio show when I'm on too. ESPN 96.1 Fridays 3 to 6. Call in.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with everything he said, but I did think that we were, especially through the first half of the game, that we were trading blows equally with them. It wasn't like it was a runaway from the beginning or anything.
Yeah. No. I agree. And I think, look, those penalties early, historically have cost the Lions. They're not as immature a team as they were before, where when something like that happens early, they just lose control and they fall apart. That didn't happen, but absolutely. And I'll say, just as an add-on
Not
to
the
that,
Jim Schwartz years,
right? The pass interference on Justin Coleman, they didn't throw a pass interference on the exact same play, going the other way, and it was at the one or right at the pylon. I think it was Hawkinson or Jones. I don't remember. It might have been. I don't remember.
It was Hawkinson. I know what play you're talking about.
It was exactly.
He was going. He was going
play.
like this to go up, and the arm. He got hit right here on the arm, and he couldn't quite get it out there.
Yep.
And it wasn't a great throw, and I think that was part of why. And he also didn't try to sell it whatsoever either, which was frustrating.
That didn't do anybody any favors. No, but that one was like, it's like, so that's just the world. That's inconsistency in the NFL. That's the way the game kind of bounces anymore, and the way it works. So it's terrible. I hate it. The one where they threw the flag, and his explanation would have been fine, except he's breaking up the scrum, and Phillip Rivers is throwing punches. I'm not buying that. He wasn't paying attention to that at all. I don't want to say at all, but that's not what he was paying attention to. And that flag was.
They also
I have
didn't
to throw one
blow
because
the whistle. They didn't blow the whistle.
Yeah.
They just assumed that everybody would stop. You play through the damn whistle. That really bothered me. It happened in a college game this weekend too, where almost the exact same penalty, except in that one, it was a TCU game. He actually fell on the quarterback instead of pulling the quarterback down on himself. So he'll end up getting the penalty for that, which is much more justifiable than what Shelton did.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That was a poor moment for the officials there.
Yeah,
Speaking of flags, real quick,
Yeah.
Aaron Fletcher, your comment got flagged. I had to allow it through.
Oh, the Penasini. He's got a great Penasini line of comments. The Penasini line.
Penasini's been great.
Oh my God, what a pickup! I mean, can we just trade away our first 3 rounds of draft picks and then just load up on 4
as
through 6?
Many 4th, 5th, 6th round picks as possible? Yeah.
My goodness. Or maybe get Mayhew at least to swing for the fences for the first 3, and then let Quinn take over for the bottom end of the draft.
Yeah. Now we understand why they weren't buyers at the trade deadline, because they're really good with the late round picks, and that's all that was going this week.
Yeah.
For the last couple of weeks, really.
All right. So, what do you think about the idea that the Lions were matched up well? I like the idea where he said it wasn't a blowout like the score would indicate, where the Saints was a blowout and the score didn't indicate it. I think we were bested. I think the Lions are a team that's not competing with great teams and not going to compete with the greats, at least not this year. Are they better than they were last year? I think we're better than we were last year. I feel like we've got a better team. I think we're better coached.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I think the whole league's better though, and we got a tough schedule against some pretty tough teams this year. I don't know that the record's going to reflect it, but how about you guys? Where's your head at on that? Was this a blowout or not? We'll start there.
I think it got out of hand.
Yeah.
Early on, it was very competitive. I do think that the pick 6 took all the life out of the Lions. At that point, they knew they had lost.
Yeah.
And I think it turned after that. That was, and you could tell much more from the defense than the offense, quite honestly. The offense knew that they could still get out there and try to score, even though the Colts defense is really good. The defense after that was just, I don't want to say they were just going through the motions, but there wasn't the fire behind it. At that point in the game, if Danny Shelton is getting near Phillip Rivers, it was because, it was very late. It just, their manly vigor just wasn't there after that.
Wow.
I like the way you put that.
I wasn't expecting a manly vigor comment this week.
Yeah, no, like I said already, I thought we were doing a pretty good job trading them blow for blow in the first half. It's tough. Once the wheels come off, it's tough. But I did think that, I think if they played that game 10 times, they might win 2 times. You know
Maybe.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought going into it, it was one of those where if they played 50 times, each team would win 25. And that was not the impression that I got coming out. Because I watched the Colts a couple weeks ago lose to the Browns, and it wasn't the Browns' best game. And this was a much better Colts team. It helps that they had Darius Leonard and left tackle Anthony Costanzo. man, their defense really made an impression on me, and it's one of those things that lingers for me because the way that the Colts did that, the Lions are going to be vulnerable to that no matter what they try to do. That's just the style that they are, and that was troubling for me, quite honestly. Not everybody has a DeForest Buckner or a Darius Leonard or Anthony Walker or a Justin Houston, thankfully. Tyquan Lewis getting 2 sacks and being unblockable. I don't want to go off on Big V, but dude's a problem.
Yeah, we were definitely doing better before he was in the lineup. It's nice. All right, well, good question from Brandon before we move on. Do you think the 2 weeks the Colts had to study the Lions helped a whole lot plus the rest?
I mean, you're gonna
rest and health more than anything else.
Yeah, you never want to play a team coming off their bye. It's never an advantage.
No, yeah. I agree. Okay, let me talk about something really quick. I gotta ping on this. These guys are awesome. I'm just gonna tell you, Diamond CBD is literally the best sponsor in the world. Period. They're sponsoring 10 hours of the St. Jude podcast-a-thon. I just got a giant box. Let me just grab it. Of giveaways today for the show.
Does that make you a big box trafficker? That's
a that's a lot of CBD, my friends.
Don't leave the state.
It's legal in all 50 states. Thank you so much. These guys are awesome. I'm telling you, they're sponsored. There's giveaways we're going to be giving away for the biggest donor each hour. We got gummies, we got creams, we got a monthly. This thing I got to get this right. The box of the month. Now I was in a different. There's a box of the month club that I was in. It was different, but this one is a great deal. It comes with the one that I got here has slippers, has oil, has gummies, has a whole bunch of stuff in it. These are all going to be prize packages for folks during the St. Jude giveaway. I'm tell you, like I said, you guys see, look, my now empty umpteenth jar of this stuff. This stuff is great. It is so helpful. Sleep, pain, anxiety, whatever. It doesn't get you high. Now this chill line does give you a heck of a body buzz, but you can do whatever you want with that, right? It's their Delta 8 line, but it's you think clearly, you think straight, you feel great, and it makes just those aches and pains go away. The cream, you rub it on, it's good to go. Check it out, cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. If you thought about using CBD historically or in the past and haven't gotten around to it, I can't tell you. Everybody has been getting back with me and telling me how great this stuff is and how well it's working for them. I wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't awesome stuff. I really wouldn't. We wouldn't talk about it on the show. The last thing I'd want to do is get people to go spend money and then get mad at us because they bought something that was garbage or didn't work or whatever. So cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. We've got a coupon code for you now. They set this up. It's Lions. What a great word. Use the word Lions. You'll get 55% off. Now, they do have sales, and some of the stuff it runs higher, 60, 65% off on some stuff. So you'll get the higher rate on those things. But if you use Lions, no matter what, you'll automatically get 55% off everything you buy. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Use that code Lions and get yourself hooked up with some of the greatest stuff out there. All right, let's talk about the Lions and building this team. I hate to use the phrase buyers or sellers because the trade deadline was on election day, just before the votes rolled in, and there wasn't a whole lot of action going on. But there is a whole lot of action going on in Lions, and I want to talk about that. And in the most Lions thing ever, we add Everson Griffin for edge help and lose Trey Flowers all within a couple of days of each other. We've got that. We've got Kenny Galladay, who's out for a couple of weeks. I think it's a hip flexor, which stinks. Mm-hmm. You go from a hammy to a hip flexor. It's everything's about the hips, baby. Everything's about the hips. And then the big news: Matthew Stafford on the reserve COVID list, and Jared Davis also on the reserve COVID list. Let's start with Stafford and Davis. Riz, if you can give us kind of your report on where things are and what's going on. This news broke today at 4:00 from the Lions. What do you got for us, man?
They are separate. They are not related. They just happen to coincidentally be on the same team. Jared Davis, from what we understand, did test positive. They have not come out and said that, and he has not acknowledged it. But the fact that they put him on the list right away and he has not been at the building either day leads you to conclude that he probably tested positive. So he will not be playing for at least 2 weeks. Stafford is different. Stafford was not placed on the COVID reserve list. He just was told to stay away. When you go on the COVID reserve list, you wind up being you get somebody to take your place on the roster. He is still technically on the roster, which means that there is an outside chance he can play. There's a timeline on it. You have to have 5 negative tests. That would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He's flying on a private plane on his own on Sunday to Minnesota, presuming that he passes his other tests. We don't know the Wednesday test result. He took it this morning. If all that happens, he can play. Now, if he doesn't pass all of those tests, or if one of them is like one of those can't be determined, then he won't be able to play in the Chase Daniel time, and that's just not fun for anybody. So pray that he passes all of his tests.
Hey,
and
now.
gets through it.
Chase Daniel has a 2-0 record against the Vikings as a starter.
I have to give credit to Hattori Hanzo, who's always hanging out. Love it. In the chat, he said, he's going to take Stafford's COVID by osmosis. And he's going to do it for Detroit. And then we got Riley Dawson. At least Chase Daniels is a Viking killer if it comes to that.
Yeah, no, he is 2-0.
Wow, QB wins. That's like Tua getting credit for the win last weekend when he threw for 83 yards.
Those were an important 83. Those were impactful.
They always count against us. We should use them to our advantage now.
I guess so. Yeah. So there, it's not ruled out that Stafford will not play, but it's going to take a lot. Like, remember when Nick Saban got tested positive and then he wound up testing negative like all the times they tested him like every 10 minutes so he would get enough negative tests and wound up being on the sideline?
Yep.
That's the status that Stafford is in.
Yeah. Dang it. But I mean, at least he's doing the whole flying out there on the private jet. I mean, there's a chance, right? And you're saying there's a chance, and that's all we've got as Lions fan is saying there's a chance. Ohio scores. Thanks, Brandon. That's for you.
Now the other thing is that he can't practice for the rest of the week, which is frustrating.
Ohio missed the PAT though, just so you know.
We had two great kickers, and I missed Louis Zervos already.
I'm sorry, I don't want to rub it in. All right, yeah, no, this is something. So so we got Stafford, we got Davis down. Davis is automatically 2 weeks, right? Because he is positive test and he's done, right?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
so we're not going to see him and his eloquent blitzing powers for a little bit.
He could, in theory, play next week. Although I think he has to be on for 14 days. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe he has to be on the list for 14 days.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be worse though. It could be the Ravens. They have 6 starters on defense on their COVID reserve list right now, and one of them, Marlon Humphrey, did test positive, so he's out for a while. And Ronnie Stanley, their all-pro left tackle, broke his ankle, so the Ravens are hurting too.
Ouch.
It's not just the Lions that are getting shuffled around. And the Thursday night game, by the way, the San Francisco 49ers shut down their team facility today on Wednesday because of possible positive tests. The Packers have their own positive test issues. They played a guy who tested positive on Sunday because the test didn't come back until after the game. It's a rough week, man.
Ooh, boy.
No, just for the sake of okay, so I want to talk Trey Flowers for a minute. Sorry to
he needs to be brought up too.
That's where we're going next. Lead us in.
There is the difference this year, and I think most of our listeners are probably aware of that. That if he goes on IR now, he can come back in 3 weeks, theoretically, if he's healthy.
Right. He has to miss 3 games, but that's all he has to miss if he can play.
Right.
I don't want to back off. Okay.
Back off, man.
Yeah, no, and we still don't. Riz, you might be able to correct me on this, but we still don't exactly know what it was something with his right arm, but
I have not heard
or specifics of his injury are somewhat a mystery.
I asked a couple people, and nobody has a good answer, and you're sure as hell not going to get that from the Lions.
No.
Right? So today's Patricia press conference was all about like the Minnesota connection and all that crap. So it wasn't like, they were going over it in great detail. So that was, he artfully dodged questions, as Matt Patricia often does from that standpoint.
The artful dodger. The artful dodger. I love it. Okay. Does he know Clayton Kershaw? Speaking of the Dodgers? Sorry, I just had to make the reference. All right, so we got Trey Flowers out. Kenny Galladay, hip flexor. That's pretty important for a guy that runs for a living. Also jumps and then gets hit by three guys as he tries to catch a ball.
For a dude who's not fast, that's a really bad injury to have. If you can't, because just think, okay, where he's hurt is the top and inside of his hip. Just try to keep that immobile and reach out and try to grab something that's far away from you. You can't do it. So it's a limiting physical injury. It's going to be, hopefully he's okay enough that he can play through it. But even if he's quote unquote healthy, it's going to bother him. Yeah.
And even it's gonna bother him for a while. It's right. Possibly the rest of the season, even when he comes back healthy. And Kenny Galladay. I'm not an anti-Galladite. Let me put it that way. Kenny Galladay, I like him. I just don't think he's the number one wide receiver. Right? He is for the Lions because of how decimated or the dearth of talent we have at that position. But he's a 1B, really, I think, at best. And his injuries lead to that whole idea. Availability is a really, really key ability to have, and that ability just isn't hitting for him. He's getting injured a lot. He's taking those hits because of the separation issue. Love those hands, but he's not doing himself favors with the injury, his durability piece, and that may, again, if I'm the Lions, I'm not going to offer him that really, really big deal, which means he may well go somewhere else. And I can't blame him. I can't blame him for not paying him all the money that people think he should be paid, because I don't think he's able to, he's quite earned it. I love the guy. I love him. I want him on the Lions.
So let's go to a different spot on that. Let's say he was healthy at the trade deadline. Would you have tried to trade him away?
No, you can't. No, unless you're all in on a rebuild, because you've got nobody behind him, right? You if anything, you need to buy wide receivers right now. And you got a guy who's a number two, a good number two wide receiver. I think you go out and you find your number one and your number three.
But if you don't think he's coming back, why would you not try to get something?
I see what you're saying. Sorry. I think he's going to test the market, and I think the team knows he's probably not going to get what he's testing the market for. Now, is this injury? I don't know. Oh, my back hurts. That's a great injury that is hard to test for, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know about this type of injury. I don't know how they can look at it and whether what they can see through imaging and all that. My son has recently said maybe radiology is his space. So in a couple of years, maybe I can be better with this or have an expert. But the reality is that I have no idea, but injured like that, he's not worth anything at the trade deadline, right? You're not going to get anything for him.
And I think that sort of put an end to that argument before we ever got to have it, which was a little disappointing, because if you were going to get back more than a third round comp pick, which is what you will get when he leaves, whether it's in 2021 or 2022, because if my personal theory, and this is just my theory, is that they will franchise tag him this offseason, because I don't think they want to be committed to him long term, but they also know that they can't afford to let him go because they don't have anybody else.
Yeah, yep.
So I think they'll kick that can down the road. But if you could have gotten a second round and a fifth round pick for him, I would have taken it. I would have taken it and run.
Oh yeah.
Obviously that's just hypothetical because it didn't wind up being that way. But anything more than that third round pick, I would have taken for him.
But you're admitting you're done with the season at that point. Right.
Yes.
And then if you're admitting you're done with the season,
this team is not winning more than 3 or 4 more games.
But if you're admitting you're done with the season, then you're admitting you're done with your job. If you're Matt Patricia,
right.
That's a hard one to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow.
I would say from Bob Quinn's standpoint, if you're looking from a roster construct standpoint, I'll keep using Patricia's words against him. It's you've got to look for the future. If you know he's not, this is the Golden Tate situation. You know that Golden Tate was not going to come back, and you knew even after you had just bought Snacks, because we had just bought Everson Griffin, it was the exact same situation. They knew that they weren't going to get back, that Tate wasn't going to be back, and they got an equivalent pick for him. They got a third-round pick. They wasted it, of course, but they got it back, and it was higher than a comp pick. That was their rationale for getting rid of him. They're in the same spot now. They are fairly closer to a playoff berth. I mean, at 3-4, you have a path to get to 8-8, and I don't think you can get any more than that.
We're talking about paths. I heard too many
berth?
path stories yesterday, but go ahead. The path to victory.
The dude from CNN with the touch screens. That guy was awesome, by the way. That's a very impressive thing. If you've ever tried to be on camera and use like touch stuff like that, dude's really good at his job. Whether you like his politics or not, he's really good at his job.
The early days of teleprompters were always hilarious because you always, you got the guy because you're drawing and you're seeing it on the screen. You're not seeing it where you're drawing. And these guys were, I mean, they couldn't even use a mouse back then, right? So it's horrible. It's so fun. Anyway, all right.
So that's where I was at with the buying versus selling angle on Galladay. I would have tried to sell him. Obviously, it was a moot point because he was hurt. I would have tried to have sold off Will Harris. I would have tried to have sold off any number of players who I don't think are part of the long-term solution to the team. But as you brought up, Chris, you're at a regime that's at a bit of a crossroads. You don't know if you're playing for your future or if you're helping the next guy. And I understand that dynamic is probably why they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in burn it all down. I don't give an F. I prevail mode.
Gasoline mode.
Here's a question for you, Jeff. I don't know much about the upcoming draft class, and I won't until after the NFL season is over. But from what little I do know, it looks like there's quite a few wide receiver prospects that could fill the holes that we need to fill. So if they were to let Galladay walk, obviously we'd need more than one because we probably and even if I really like Marvin Jones, he's a low-level wide receiver 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he manages to, come back in a major way, which I sure as hell hope he does because he's one of my favorite Lions over the last decade. But
agreed.
But yeah, I mean,
it's a great wide receiver class. It's high end. It's not as deep as last year's class was in terms of immediate impact talent. But like Jalen Smith, or not Jalen Waddle, the other Smith from Alabama. Bateman is good from Penn State. There's a lot of really talented guys at the top who will be there in the 8 to 15 range that the Lions project to pick in. If all
looking at
things
Chase and Moore and
Rondale Moore's a good one. There are assets there. The problem is if you're drafting a wide receiver there, you're not drafting a pass rusher there. You're not drafting another. I think this team desperately needs a safety at some point too.
Yeah.
Tracy Walker's been a bitter disappointment this year, and Will Harris can't play. Deron Harmon just came off an awful game, so I'm feeling a little bit bad about him right now, even though he's been good for the most part this year. I wanted to take wide receivers plural last year in a historically great class, and they took 2 running backs instead. They have more depth at running back than any team I've ever seen. Doesn't matter because they don't try to run the ball. They can't run the ball.
They give it to Adrian Peterson. They wind up all this capital, all this youth, and they give it to Adrian Peterson.
Well, and it's so weird too because I mean, PFF had him before this last week as the best run blocking group, like, or at least for the one game.
Blocking group,
like
but they were terrible
it's not like
running.
They're incapable of doing it. They just they do it in such weird and
what were they though, Riz?
Ways.
Their run blocking was like number 1, but the run they were like 17 or 19 or something stupid
19,
like that.
19th.
I mean, you've got the running backs. What's wrong?
So Peterson has worn down. He's teams have figured out how to defend him basically. Swift is
shocking after this much time in the league.
Yeah, I know, right? Swift has been good, not great. He's the guy that needs a clean path in front of him when he gets the ball. Mm-hmm. If he sees that, he's going to be really good. But I swear to God, he's Amir Abdullah reincarnated. He really is. Very similar running styles, very same. They think he holds onto the ball better. That's not saying a lot, but yeah, he does deserve that. And his pass protection's been it was brutal last week. That was one PFF graded him very well in pass protection. I didn't see that at all when I watched. So that he's got to be better. But the other side of it is when you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford who's dangerous, and you have a wide receiver that you were afraid of in Kenny Golladay, and a tight end that you're afraid of in TJ Hawkinson, teams want you to run the football. They're going to make it easier for you to run because then you're not throwing at them. Mm-hmm. And I think that was something that if you watched not so much the Saints game, but the two games around that, I think you saw the Lions opponents consciously want them to run the ball so they couldn't get attacked via the air. Mm-hmm. And that interestingly enough, is the way that Bill Belichick's defense used to attack people, was that they would let you do that. So, okay, if you're playing Kurt Warner and the Rams, the greatest show on turf, you want them to try to run with Marshall Faulk 40 times a game because you don't want him throwing to Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Naz Hakeem because you can't cover all those guys. That's a trade-off that they consciously would make. I don't know if that's going on right now with the Lions, and certainly without Golladay, I think we'll learn that because the weapons just aren't there. But,
no, it's ugly, and we didn't sell. We did a little bit of buying, but everything we bought was almost negated. Was negated basically an injury. We're kind of stagnating. We're not. It feels like we're in a deflationary cycle, actually. If I want to get all economic.
Stagflation, baby. 1979 all over again.
It is. Gas prices are through the roof. Interest rates are like insane. Can't buy, can't sell a house. It's horrible. That being said, what do? Well, you look to Jimmy Carter, and that's probably what's going to happen with the Lions.
There's like five people who understand what we're talking about right now, Chris.
I know. It's so funny. Case is like, wow, I was born in 82. You guys
are ancient. 85.
Okay.
Low end millennial.
There you go. Yeah, you're low end and more than that, buddy. Okay. Speaking of lost causes and desperate situations, St. Jude. You've heard of St. Jude?
That's a horrible way.
That's
Chris,
a rough
I'm really sorry. It's a good cause, and I'm glad we're supporting it. Please don't put it like that again.
Well, no, St. Jude is the saint of lost causes and desperate situations, and we were talking about you, and I was like, you know what, we need to invoke St. Jude here. Yeah. So, St. Jude, we are doing this Friday. It's the big broadcast. And I want to talk to you guys about it because there's a whole lot going on. We got Justin Rogers, we got Billy Sims, we got Wayne Fonts, we got Hank Fraley, we got Dan Orlovsky, we got Dean Blandino, Tony Ortiz with Jim Brandstatter and Dan Miller are joining. We're getting the band back together. They're going to join us for a bit. LoJack, Lawrence Jackson will be on there. All kinds of great. Riz will be there. How could I? Why isn't he at the top? All those great folks will be there. We're raising money. You can see the banner. We're rolling it up there at the top of the broadcast on the YouTube here. You can see we're almost at $1,700. We're at $1,679. 69 because always we're at 69 on this show. St. Jude kids. Oh God, Christmas for the kids. You can see the donors rolling by there. Thank you everyone who has donated. We've got a goal right now. We're sitting at 15,000, but we got this charity auction that's coming. I got a football sign from Jeff Okuda. I got a football sign from DeAndre Swift. I got a couple Galladay jerseys. I got a Galladay helmet. I got a whole slew of stuff coming that's going to be available for the charity auction for you guys to get great stuff. And all the proceeds of that 100% will go to St. Jude. So great stuff going. Get in early if you don't mind. The first 3 hours we have a commitment from a great guy. And if we raise $5,000 in the first 3 hours, he's going to get a tattoo on his chest that says Staff Daddy. And not only that, he's going to do it live on stream. So he'll be there getting the thing. He said if we, our goal is 25K. He said if we get to 30, he'll get a Jared Davis tattoo on his other side of his chest. My man is in 100%. Right? I mean, he said he's into getting funny tattoos and his kids love them and stuff. But this is next level stuff. Right? This guy's absolutely committed to helping us. So get in early. We start at 9 a.m. on November 6th. So your whole work day, we're going to be on. We'll be doing most of the interviews during the day. So while you're at work, you can tune in and listen. For those that miss them, we will replay those in the overnight hours for you guys so you can see the different interviews and don't get left out because you're in a different time zone, different part of the world. We want to make sure you're covered as well. So we got all that going on. We're having giveaways, like I said, tons of CBD to give away to folks, and CBD products for donations, a lot of other stuff going on. So please absolutely join us. It's going to be a great time, and we're gonna really kill this for you guys. So St. Jude. In the meantime, yes, Riley, you can bid on the auction if you're not in the USA. That was a question. In the meantime, go to stjude.org/DLP. And in case here's a quiz for you. Do you know what DLP stands for?
I have no idea.
I didn't think so. Das Lugenpresse. No, it's Detroit Lions podcast. Sorry, I went to German. stjude.org/DLP. Go on in there and get yourself a donation. Get your name on the screen. We'll thank you. We'll love you. We'll give you all the great stuff. A lot of really cool stuff coming on there. All right. Let's do that. We got that coming up Friday, and we're going to rely on you guys in the chat and the phone calls. We'll take your calls the whole time. I mean, 24 hours of doing this is a long time. I mean, the draft show is a long show, and we've got something to watch with you guys, right? All we're doing is staring at each other's mugs, and look at that. Look at those mugs on there. Uh-oh.
Jeff had to take off.
Oh, got it.
He was trying to warn you, but
I missed it.
Busy.
Okay, got it. Let me
real quick interjection. Kelly says on Instagram that her staff, her Matt and the kids are all negative. So. Oh,
that's great. That's really, really good to hear.
And she's upset with the NFL again, and I don't know the full details of that. Well, if I assume that kind of news will percolate, over the next 8 hours to tomorrow morning, and if you're trying to figure that out, you should be able to figure that out pretty easily. So
yeah, cool. All right, let's move on. Preview of the Vikings game. Case, this is interesting. Coming off the 2 wins, you had that step ladder up with the Colts. It was a game that felt like we could have won. I still think we could have won that game. You re-roll it and play it again, see what happens. That's going to be interesting. I feel really confused now. So I need you to help me understand what to look for in this Vikings game and what these Lions are going to do. So give it to me, baby.
I am super concerned watching the way the Vikings lines played this last week and the way they just ran against the Packers. Dalvin Cook, obviously, 4 touchdown day for him, which thankfully for my fantasy team, but I was also rooting for the Vikings to win that game. But at the same time, to watch the way they won it gives me great cause for concern in how the Lions will match up with them. I think their offensive line, obviously their offensive line is nowhere near as good as the Colts is, but they sure as hell held up, especially in the run game last week. And if we can't put more pressure on Cousins than we did on Rivers, and it's not that we didn't get any pressure on Rivers, but I am just concerned. Let me put it that way. It'll be a big game for Deshaun Hand. It'll be a big game for Everson Griffin to show what those 2 guys can bring to the team, because that's kind of those, and Okwara.
Okwara, is a big one.
So, those are the guys that I'm keyed in on in this matchup. The defensive line is absolutely 100% I feel like the only realistic way that we come out of this one with a win is if they have a big day, and they haven't necessarily had a big day yet this year.
Right. Although the Vikings present a good opportunity for them to do that. They are not an over the top offensive line like we had in the Colts. This is a beatable group of people, which gives the opportunity for this line to show their ability to stop the run, which is going to be important, right? Dalvin Cook is going to be a key for the Vikings, I think, in this game, because look, Kirk Cousins can wing the ball, but there's a lot to that. That defensive line gets some pressure that and stops the run. Those two things, I think that's the absolute key to the Lions winning this game. If we can do those things, that'll keep them low scoring, and then we'll just have to make it work with the strangled corpse of a wide receiving corps.
Right.
That's really what we're looking at. What do you think about on the defensive side of the ball for the Vikings? Anything jumping out at you that's scary? And Danielle Hunter isn't there. That's nice.
They're
Emerson Griffin.
not as formidable by any means as they have been in the past few seasons. I think we saw that coming ahead of time. There was just too many mouths to feed in terms of salary issues and things like that.
Yep.
So, but I don't think either of us thinks that Mike Zimmer is a bad coach either. And he is very reliable with putting together a stout defense. They've had their rough patches so far this year, but I think we're seeing the ascendance of this team right now towards where they probably should have been earlier in the year. And it's going to be if we're able to pull out a victory against them, that's like I think the Vikings think after last week they could still make the playoffs. I think they feel like they could go on a run.
Really?
If we stymie that this week, they're done.
Oh, that fan base is going to melt down if they lose to the Lions this week.
Oh, no. They won't melt down. They're used to it.
Not losing to the Lions.
I promise you. No, they won't melt down. They'll say, well, been here before.
No,
so.
I think my expectation is because we've been here before at the beginning of the year, and they've got this little bit of a rebound here, right? And think about us after the Jags game and after the the Falcons game, right? We were like, hey, we're sipping a little bit of that Kool-Aid. We can do this. We can make this work. And then we ran into the Colts. They have a little bit of the same. They stunk it up early. They all of a sudden, but they did okay against Green Bay. It was just who outscored the other. And now they're coming back, and they had a pretty strong showing. They're like, well, maybe we're gonna be back into the Kool-Aid. It's just the Lions, right? It's just they're so beatable. And when they don't, I think it's going to be that stolen that it's just going to rip their heart out for the year, and it's going to be terrible. That's why I'm expecting a meltdown. I know they've been there before, but they now, when they didn't have hope, now they have some. That's the most dangerous time to be alive, is when you have hope. All right, so there you go. There's your preview of the Vikings game. Really quick one to tell you about Fanatics, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Any of your Lions gear, Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, football, college football, college hockey, the whole thing. Fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Anything you buy there, they give us a kickback. We appreciate everyone who does that. It's the exact same thing if you go to Amazon, and everybody shops at Amazon. Amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com. Amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com. Head on over there. And, just make it all happen, because it'll be great for you and for us. They give us a kickback. All right. That being said, Brandon, again, great insight. Do you guys realize that Everson Griffin's going to go against Riley Reef? And no matter what else happens in the game, that should be a fun one to watch, I think. At least for Lions fans, I think it'll be fun.
Hope so.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, we got one more thing that we want to do. And I don't know if I have all the stuff I need to make it happen, because that's the world I live in here. God dang it. I can do this. I can do anything. Anyway.
Your best impression.
Around the division. There we go. Wait, maybe I can make this happen. I can do this. Who the hell am I kidding? Case is going to take us around the division.
Don't fuck around.
Oh my god. I don't know why I'm so dumb sometimes. Dumb times.
Okay.
Okay.
Let that sit.
Let's take a look at the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, obviously they're riding pretty high after the win they had against the Packers, and they certainly showed that the Packers are beatable if you just out physical them, especially on offense.
Can you imagine if we would have won against the Colts with the Bears and, well, I don't want to give the ghost away, but everyone in front of us in division losing? Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, it would have been a good week for us. I mean,
screw that
if
up.
we're gonna lose, I'm glad we lose in a week that
Everyone
went the
else
way
does.
this last week went. But
you gotta capitalize on those other losses. They don't make mistakes often enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the Bears. We'll get to the Bears in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, but no, I mean, I think the Vikings like the direction they're in, and changed the narrative after they went ahead and looked like sellers as they got rid of Ngakoue. So it's tough to tell exactly who they are and where they're going to be by the end of the year, because they played this last week more like I expected them to play, but I can't expect to see them do that every week. You know what I mean? So I think they're a team on the rise. They just have a huge hurdle to get over at this point in the year. To get to where they would need to be to get in the playoffs is a massive hurdle. They'd have to almost win out.
Mm-hmm.
They can maybe afford one more loss. Maybe 2 if they get real lucky with a wild card situation, but
Yep.
I think they're in a difficult spot. But I also don't expect to see a team under Mike Zimmer give up. So
No, because if you do, the team will give up. The front office will give up on Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
Right? That's absolutely, when he loses the team, you know it's done and it's over. Because he won't lose the team. He's not a guy that will. I feel like a little bit of, if the team were to turn on him, it'd be a little Ditka-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, moving on up.
The Bears, I was incredibly satisfied by their loss. I wish they would have lost by more. They took the Saints to overtime, which doesn't necessarily prove my theory that the Bears suck. But they have lost 2 in a row now, which is exactly where I would have expected them to be at this point, losing as many games as they're winning. Because I don't think they're a bad team, no matter how much I want them to be. I just think they're a mediocre team that was masquerading as a good team.
I think you've evolved. Case, because they were 5-1 at one point. And you were like, no way, they're a bad team. It's luck. It's all crap. And at the beginning of the year, I think you were a lot more down on them than you are now. Maybe I think you've evolved to mediocre with the Bears.
Well, I think everybody knows that they have a good defense.
Yeah.
Nobody is surprised by that.
Yeah.
They just don't have a good offense.
No, they do not. So they are.
And that makes a mediocre team. You've got one good unit and one bad unit.
They are a little better than we thought they were. If only he'd said that.
Approximately, yeah.
If only he'd said that.
I'm looking forward to the rematch, and I'm still very much looking forward to the Vikings-Bears games. I still think those are going to be some of the most interesting games of the year. So when those roll around, especially the way the Vikings played against the Packers, that is really going to be fascinating, I think. So Packers, obviously, they what did they do?
They lost.
Yeah. Who did they lose to? I'm trying to remember what happened to the Packers this week. The Vikings.
That's where you started with.
If you watch the game, and I watched chunks of it, I didn't see the whole thing. It was just an abomination from the beginning for them. And it's nice to see. It's always nice to see a team like that clearly they have a weakness.
Yep.
And every other team in the NFL knows it now. So even though I think Green Bay is probably a top 5 team in the league, or at least a top 6 or 7 team in the league, against most teams, any team that's real good at finding their weakness, which clearly the Vikings did, is going to be able to just punish them all day long. Now, I was surprised that they weren't able to score more on offense. I think that was the biggest shock of the day. Not that their run defense was weak, which wasn't a huge shock to me, but that they didn't put up more points. And so I think that'll be the thing to watch with the Packers going forward. If over the next couple weeks Rodgers doesn't go back to slinging the ball for 38 points, that'll be the interesting thing.
Yeah.
If everybody's figured him out because the Vikings did, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully they provide a blueprint for us to leverage our wonderfulness and our strength against the Packers. It's home at the end of the season. It's a tough run. Packers, Titans, Bucks. Boy, to take the one against the Packers would be nice. No matter what the rest of the season says for you, it's always a good feeling to beat the Packers. There we go. All right. Does that cover the division for you, my man?
I think so.
All right. Last thing for St. Jude, want to tell anyone, if you have a T-shirt design that you'd like to get printed out and donate to the cause, we'll do that. We'll get the T-shirts built up during the auction. Every T-shirt we sell at DetroitLionsPodcast.com at the merch store, $1 from that sale will go to St. Jude. So check out. We got some great shirts, and we're looking for designs. Like I said, if anyone wants to build anything and donate it, we will take that. It would be awesome of you to do that. Neither Case nor I are particularly talented in the artistic department.
No.
This is our art. Oh God.
If you use the term loosely.
Yeah. Okay, Lucy. Remember, the show needs your involvement. We'll use the comments in the subreddit, please, to give us your feedback. We love to learn what you think about the show and how we can get better. We use that to get better because it's a community show. You own it. And let's act like an owner here. All right. We have the game preview back on Fridays. We'll be there with Riz and Tony Ortiz. We will do it at about 5 o'clock this week, as we normally do. But it'll just be in the midst of the St. Jude broadcast. So we'll have that going for you as well. Don't forget, give us a call on Skype. Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, or the Lions line, 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. And you can follow us on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. It's the very, very best place to see Case.
With no pants on.
God dang right. All right, and be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com and subscribe to the podcast so we can show up in your ear holes automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.